This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
After many years, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax has finally left the arcades, it's left PlayStation 3, and unfortunately it has even left the Xbox 360. But we are entering a new generation with Persona 4 Arena Ultimax thanks to a new port released by Atlus, which finally sees a release on PlayStation 4, playable on PlayStation 5 via backwards compatibility, which is all the footage you're seeing here, as well as Nintendo Switch, and of course, PC. So, if anyone here may not be aware, I am a huge fan of not only fighting games, but obviously Atlus. And Persona 4 Arena was a really special one for many reasons for me, but without getting too much into my history, I have been following this game since the original release in 2012 for Arena, and Ultimax was a game that helped define what the Shin Megami Tensei Network community is. We held weekly Fight Club tournaments, we hosted many online, offline meetups, played this game for hours and hours and hours on end. Even back in 2014, when the PlayStation 3 was not the new hotness, it was the PlayStation 4 that had released the year earlier, we were still going back to this title for years, even though it never got any more new DLC, it never got any new updates. The game didn't even get version 2.0 that released in the arcades following year after its release, but even though we were playing the outdated version of the game, it was still such a solid quality title that it kept us coming back because Arc System Works with Atlus created something extremely special with Arena, and over the course of 2 years honed its development even more with Ultimax. And Ultimax, in the form you have it today, is easily, hands down, the best version to play this game at. Now, I want to just get a couple of things out of the way, because this review will get into a lot of nitty-gritty details from the story, single-player modes, multiplayer modes, etc. But I want to let everyone know really quick, if you are a returning player who played the game for a little bit or played the game for hundreds of hours like me, this port for $30 is an absolute steal. Do I wish it was physical? Of course I do, but either way, having the game at the end of the day is really what's most important, and having this available on new modern platforms is really nice, with almost all of the DLC being included is just icing on the cake. This feels like one of the most complete fighting game experiences I have ever played, which you would hope, because this is a port with all the DLC of a game that's almost 8 years old, but still, with a lot of modern competition out right now, such as the recently released Phantom Breaker or even KOF 15, on top of other new Arc System games that are still getting updates like Dragon Ball FighterZ, I have not been this confident recommending a game to so many different people for so many different reasons. If you are someone who is just remotely into fighting games and may not necessarily be super into the world of Persona, this is an extremely fun fighting game. It is very casual friendly, it is very fun to master, it is great quick-paced tutorials, really good into getting you into the game, know how to play it. If you are someone who's just into the world of Persona, or just loves the characters from Persona 3 and 4, this game is going to give you a ton of stuff to enjoy with them, from the fan service of their moves, the animations, the color palettes, and the, sometimes maybe to its detriment, story mode. It is there. There is a ton of content for fighting game people, for Atlus fans, for Persona 4 fans. This ticks a lot of boxes, and even if you're not a Persona fan, I know tons of people who still really enjoy this, because at the end of the day, this is a gorgeous 2D sprite-based fighting game by the absolute geniuses at Arc System Works. They've made a name for themselves over the years with BlazBlue, Guilty Gear, and with other new titles like Dragon Ball, DNF, Grand Blue Fantasy. So if you're not the type of person who wants to sit through a whole video and just see, hey, is this a good game or not, this is a fantastic game. I am extremely not biased in this category, even though I did get a review code thanks to Atlus West. I do want to just say, if anyone was going to be hypercritical and hold a very detailed microscope up to this game, it was going to be me. Because I want this game to be as good as it can possibly be. I want this to be the definitive edition of one of my favorite fighting games of all time, and I'm so glad that they delivered. So, let's start diving into the game piece by piece. We're going to start off with the story, because I'm going to be honest, that's the most negative thing I have to say about the entire game. Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax are two separate stories. They are included in this package, and I'm going to be honest with you. As a fan of Persona, as a fan of Arc System Works, and as a fan of visual novels, I am not a fan of half of this game's story, and that's being very generous. The story of the original Persona 4 Arena is an overly bloated, heavy, slow story that could easily have been summarized and shortened down from its 12-hour runtime to a much more concise 3 to 4 hour runtime. There's a lot of interesting themes there. The world of Persona 4 is coming back. It's after the events of Persona 4 Golden. You're seeing familiar faces, and on top of that, you're meeting new characters like Labris. You're also now having the Persona 3 cast enter the world, and it's fun to catch up with those characters, whether it be from P3 or P4, see where they've been at, especially with the Persona 3 characters, seeing how they've changed, especially visually, but more so how the events of Persona 3 and after that have really changed them as a group. That's really fun to see. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in the world, and I like all that's there. The problem is, the way the story is told, you are hearing the same story over 10 different times. Every character, for the most part, outside of, say, Elizabeth or Labris, you are going through the story of go to the TV, fight the boss, repeat. And initially, while I really enjoyed the story of learning who Labris is, what is going on with the P1 Grand Prix, this fun little in-world fighting game tournament, I enjoyed the setup. Unfortunately, hearing the overarching story told time and time and again just really dragged on me, to the point where I just couldn't even be bothered to sit in front of my TV and experience the story mode. I just stuck it on my phone via remote play, would lay in bed, try not to fall asleep, and pray that I could get through it, even though this wasn't even my first time experiencing the story. But I hadn't experienced it in almost 10 years, and I thought, alright, if I'm going to review this, I want to review every aspect, including probably my least favorite, which is the original Arena story mode. So, while I like all the characters in the game, I do think Arena has a really weak set of villains. The ending doesn't really leave a lot to be desired, but there are some fun moments. There's a lot of really good CG art. Aside from the art, the music and the presentation and the voice acting is great, and obviously, depending on how you feel about the lip flapping, which was a thing this game introduced for some reason, I really enjoy having the main cast return. It's very nice seeing all these characters interact. Almost everything is voiced. I will give one bit of a suggestion for both Arena and Ultimax's story mode. Do not read the text boxes. The text boxes are just the epitome of superfluous. You don't need to set the text read to instant. Have everything play automatically. Just have the game told to you like a story, because outside of one or two situations, all of those text boxes are doing are just telling you what you just heard and add nothing to the story and add a lot more to the overall runtime. Overall, unfortunately, wasting your time. Now, while I super don't recommend the story of Persona 4 Arena, it is obviously kind of necessary to play the story of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. So, I will make a quick little handy guide right here. If you plan on playing Persona 4 Arena story, just do this. Pick a character that you want to experience from the Persona 4 side, beat that to completion. Then, pick a character from the Persona 3 side, beat that to completion, and then do Labris' story, and then do Elizabeth's story to wrap it up and get the taste of hopefully beating up the same 12 fighters over and over and over again out of your mouth. That will save you a lot of time, and there is no achievements or anything tied to it outside of seeing character CG arts. There is nothing you are not experiencing outside of, obviously, story or CG arts that could easily be looked up online. So if you're someone who wants to experience the story, that's the quickest way to experience it for yourself without having to drag yourself through multiple hours for 100% completion that ultimately means nothing at the end of the day for the game as well as for your overall experience. Now, thankfully, after I beat Arena, I was really worried about how I would feel about Ultimax, because I remember Ultimax actually feeling longer to me than the original Arena, and that really wasn't the case, thankfully. What Ultimax did for its story mode was a much more linear focus split across two different point of view perspectives. There is the Persona 4 side of things, and there is the Persona 3 side of things. The overall idea of the story is shortly after the events of Persona 4 Arena, the cast of P3 and P4 and now Labris are brought back into a new P1 tournament. A mysterious tournament appears on the Midnight Channel, and outside of everyone having to fight their shadows, no one really knows what's going on. What makes the difference this time is that you're playing through it with various different perspectives, but you're not having to go through each match again and again and again. So if there's a fight with Kanji and Yukiko, you can pick, do you want to fight with Kanji or Yukiko, but you don't have to do both to experience the full story. So it's a much more linear process of start at point A, end at point Z, and it all makes sense at the end of the day. There are some split segments, but those are because characters might not be with you. It'll be like, what's Rise doing? How does she do this? What's Naoto doing? How does she get to here? It's things that make sense. The story goes at a really nice pace. They thankfully don't rely on text boxes nearly as much as Arena did. So overall, everything was really, really good. The voice acting and I think the writing actually was a lot more lighthearted and fun. I really, really am a sucker for the cast. I think the addition of the new characters was really good. Having more people from the Persona 3 cast was pivotal. Having Ken, seeing him grown up, Junpei, Yukari, really good stuff. And Sho is an absolute, pun intended, show stealer for me. He is such a great antagonist while also having a good, interesting backstory. I don't think the game fleshes out his story enough, but he's still got really good bones in terms of his structure, and as a villain, he's a much more impeding threat than the original villain from Persona 4 Arena. So once you beat Ultimax's story through the Persona 4 perspective, you get to do the same thing from the Persona 3 perspective, and then you get your true ending. It's a much less complicated story. It's a much more overall enjoyable experience that I will gladly recommend anyone check out, even if you're not a fan of the original Arena. Ultimax has a lot of value to be gotten from its story, much more than its original, so thankfully they improved upon it there. And the best part of all, there's actually a DLC story pack that's included for free called Episode Adachi. It's very short, it's very trimmed to the fat, there's not a lot of actual fights, but you're not really coming to story mode for the fights themselves. The episode Adachi is probably my favorite story part of the entire game. It is a very nice focused story about what the heck is Toru Adachi doing in the story of Ultimax, and how does he kind of play into things. Is he a good guy? Is he a villain? Whose side is he on? What's his perspective? You get a lot of interesting insight into this character that I always really enjoyed getting a lot out of, and Johnny Young Bosch just absolutely chews the scenery anytime he gets to play as Adachi, and it's really good. It's got a great opening. The middle part doesn't drag on too long. You actually get a nice new perspective as well on Sho Minazuki, as well as the ending is really good. It gets a nice ending. It wraps everything up in a less than 2-hour story mode. Really, really like it. Cannot recommend Episode Adachi enough. So, obviously you need to beat Ultimax to play Episode Adachi, but there is at least something to end on a high note, and I'm at least glad we started really low, but eventually turned the tides for the story of. It's not like it's irredeemable, but it's definitely not going to be for everybody. It is a slow-paced visual novel with absolutely easy-peasy boss fights, and even if you don't want to fight, you can just set the game to auto and it can just play it through for you. So you can make this as much or as little as a movie experience as you want. Thankfully, we are now out of the negatives, and we are here to talk about the gameplay. So, Ultimax has a lot of modes for single-player and multiplayer, and I want to start these off by talking about the single-player. So, first off, we have Arcade Mode. Arcade Mode is pretty much exactly what you think. There is an actual arcade version of Arena and Ultimax, and this is those modes. You can go through a list of characters. Let's say if you pick Yosuke, you're fighting all the way up until the very top, and what's nice is, outside of the DLC characters, each arcade mode actually has interactions like their own little story. So you'll have little monologues every now and then before the fight, much more than you normally would. It's not anything super serious, but if you like extra interactions with characters and stuff like that, it's really nice to just have these characters interacting with each other. And it just brings a nice kind of quick form of single-player content of like, hey, I just want to fight. The computer is a good difficulty, whether it be super easy or risky mode, which is the most difficult. And I really, really enjoy playing through arcade mode. If anything, I kind of wish there was more achievements tied to it. Once you do 3 matches in arcade mode, there's really no reason to go back. There's no unlockables or anything else. It's mostly just, hey, who do you want to play as? And then you can go through and run through all of those characters. Even though there's no bonus for completion, it's just, hey, do you want to play the game? Here's the game. Now, speaking of the characters and playing the game, I do want to give a shout out to this game's roster. This game has got an insane roster with especially all the DLC characters. My main in the game was always Yosuke. It always has been, always will be. But what's great about this game, especially now that there is the balance changes from the arcade version, which was previously, as I mentioned, never ported to the console versions before, we are now playing with the most up-to-date version of Ultimax from the Japanese arcades. This has had hundreds of changes. There are literally hundreds of changes, balance adjustments, overall mechanics that are absolutely game-changing, such as the shadow characters. So whenever you see the roster of who you can play as an Ultimax, you can pretty much almost double it, because almost every character has a shadow variant who plays differently, has different attributes, and has shadow bursting now and shadow frenzy. And these are new mechanics that make them play totally different and completely change things up, more so from a competitive standpoint. I think if you're a casual player, these balance changes aren't going to seem too revolutionary or anything for that, but if you're someone who plays the game competitively or likes following balance changes and seeing how characters evolve over time, that 1.1 version you played back on PS3 and 360 is very different. Characters have gotten a lot of buffs, they've gotten a lot of nerfs. There are lots of resources out there. I will link in the description of this video the Dust Loop article if you would like to check out all the balance changes, not only from the systems, but on a character-per-character basis. So if you're someone who played Margaret, guess what? Margaret plays very different now. If you're someone who only played Shadow Naoto, good news. There are so many more Shadows who can wreck everybody instantly in this game. So please check out the changes. I can highly, highly recommend. They are very interesting, at least if you're someone who's like me and enjoys seeing how things have changed, whether it might change the meta for competitive play, or even if it just changes who you want to main or just play for yourself. I cannot recommend it enough. And I cannot thank Atlus for implementing this patch to get the arcade version into the home console release, because we have been begging for that for so long, and it was so frustrating that it was just not deemed financially viable because of the state Ultimax released in back then. So it's nice that we finally have a way to have this definitive arcade version with all the features and all the bells and whistles of the console port, really making this the best version to play, like bar none. Now, back to the single-player modes. There is Score Attack. Score Attack is pretty much like arcade mode, but you're just trying to go through more difficult courses from safety all the way to risky. And this is just, can you beat this amount of enemies and get this high of a score? I've never really been too big of a Score Attack fan. I've usually either enjoyed the simplicity of playing with another player, or if I wanted to play by myself, just going and doing arcade mode, because there's at least a little bit of flavor text and fun kind of differences that are there. I think if you're someone who enjoys going for those leaderboards, because there are leaderboards for all of these modes here, Score Attack is there. It's fine. It's, for me personally, the weakest of the single-player content, but not that this game really needs more, because its next mode is basically an entire game mode worth of fights and everything else. It's absolutely crazy. The final single-player option mode is the Golden Arena mode, and Golden Arena is basically Arc System Works' attempt at trying to make Persona 4 Arena into an RPG, and they find an interesting strike here. So you pick a character, whether it be your normal character or your Shadow variant character. They are at level 1. Each fight gives you experience. You can upgrade your stats as SP, HP, your skills, your damage, your XP that you learn after fights. There are different things that you can level up, much like leveling up in Persona. You also have a navigator. Your navigator is someone you have a social link with. So for me, I had Junpei. So every couple of matches I was playing, if I made good progress with Junpei, he would use his skills to give me more HP. Or I would be able to use my skills to recover some HP, or to be null against certain status effects. You can get new skills by leveling up. You can get new skills by fighting boss characters. Boss characters are going to be at a higher level than you are, but aren't impossible to fight. They might just have more HP, may have crazier skills, but when you beat a boss character, on top of getting more XP, you also can get one of their exclusive skills. This is a really deep mode that I think, personally for me, I never played it a lot back in the PS3, but has really struck a chord with me on this PlayStation 4 version, because I can be as active or idle as I want in this mode, and I still feel like I'm progressing. There are multiple courses, and what's cool is there's even a new mode that was never in the console version. There's the easiest one that has 100 levels, the second one has 200 levels, the third one has 400 levels, the fourth course is an infinite amount of levels, so it is just infinitely different characters going in, and you're fighting just to get higher and higher leveled. Or there is a new exclusive limited mode, which, assuming they actually change this, will be limited courses where you can fight exclusive variants for characters, get special skills that will only be available during that special time. Atlus hasn't really discussed if they will be updating that, or if this is just something that's popped in there, but it's nice that they've added in this extra new mode, because the sets that are already there is really nice, but it is kind of nice to just have that thing to kind of keep coming back to. So if this limited mode in Golden Arena is updated maybe monthly or bi-weekly, I think it would be really nice to just kind of be able to jump in and be like, oh yeah, let's go get this skill, or let's mash out a couple of levels, see if I can get these courses checked off. There is one little thing I do want to note. If you are a trophy hunter, they did make this mode twice as long, and it is going to affect how you get all of the trophies. There are multiple trophies tied to Golden Arena mode, but 3 of them are very special of clear 1 course, 2 courses, and 3 courses. The original game's courses were 50 levels, 100 levels, and 200 levels, but they've now been doubled and extended and way more hard in the later half of all the levels for each of the courses. So that just basically means you're going to have to play for hours and hours and hours on end if you want to complete all 3 courses. I know that's not going to be for everybody, but I also know not everyone who's going to be playing this fighting game is going to be at it from a trophy perspective. But I do want to point that out and just say, hey, just letting you all know, this is a really long, grindy mode. For me, I'm going to enjoy that. I think that'll be something fun to stream if I'm not wanting to do multiplayer. It's been fun to watch my character level up. It's been fun getting my navigator leveled up. There are lots of different options because your level is just for that one character. As soon as I decide to stop playing as Yosuke and if I want to jump over to someone else, you're back to square one, but then you can customize and create someone totally new and totally different. And I think that mode, if you're someone who just really likes to play single-player content, is going to give you almost infinite amounts of content in terms of just new fights, new matchups, new difficulties, new challenges, new ways to make your character more powerful in a way that is more satisfying to you. So Golden Arena mode is really the gift that keeps on giving as long as you enjoy actually playing the act of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Now, that being said, let's say if you don't know how to play Persona 4 Arena, or have never touched Ultimax. This game has a fantastic training mode because on top of it just being, hey, do you want to mess around and train with a dummy bot, there is a great tutorial that goes through all of the actions of how do you play a normal character, what's movement like, what's air dashing like, what's reversal burst, what's once mores. All of these will make sense. How do you do auto combos? Which auto combos change? What's awakenings? All of these are explained in a really quick, really simple tutorial that goes at a great pace. It should be the first thing you do in these games as long as you're not into story or whenever you want to actually learn how to start playing this game outside of mashing square. The tutorial is a great place to start, and what's nice is once you've learned everything in the tutorial and you want to start messing around with these characters and start learning their movesets, that's where challenges come in. So challenge mode has you taking on 25 to 30 challenges per character, and that's learning their moves from what's their auto combo like, what's their specials, what's their executables, what's some basic combos, what's more advanced combos, all the way up to something like do special moves a certain amount of times that you may not normally think was possible, or can you get 60,000 damage with this character, things like that. Challenge mode is an awesome tutorial if you are just trying to learn a character without it feeling punishing. You can always demonstrate almost all of the challenges, and it's really just a nice way of dipping your toe into checking out a character. Even if you're not interested in them, it will at least kind of teach you how does this character play, what's their dynamic actions like, what's their movement like, what's their speed like. It's a really good way of dipping your toe in and just kind of checking everything out, and awesome mode. I really like. It does have one caveat, which is kind of a weird thing to note, but if anyone out there is a weirdo like me, this game actually does have one piece of missing DLC that some people may find surprising and other people may say, who cares? So the final challenges for characters are always the hardest, and what Atlus did is they actually turned off demonstrations so that you couldn't cheat and look up how to do these moves. You actually had to learn how to do them yourself or go to Google/YouTube. Now, they also included a paid DLC way to download these challenge demonstrations, so if you gave Atlus money, they would show you how to do all of these challenges. And one of the interesting things when Atlus West was selling this game is they have even marketed and said, hey, all of the DLC included includes the challenge demonstration, which I thought, oh, that's really cool. Now you don't have to go to YouTube and you can just check out the challenge demonstration right there. No mess or anything. Unfortunately, this seems to maybe be an error, or it was either listed incorrectly or no one actually implemented it into the game. There is no way to view, watch, or even pay for the final challenge demonstrations in Ultimax. It is just completely left out. If you go to press the demonstrate button, it just says no cheating, you can't do anything, and there's no way to unlock it. It's really frustrating, especially because, like I said, I want this game to be the most definitive version of the game possible. I understand it's not a deal breaker. You can still go to Google, you can still go to YouTube, but again, going back to the balance changes though, this is an ultimately different game. There are certain challenges. I remember talking to a friend of mine, playing the final challenge with Margaret used to be extremely easy, and now they changed how Margaret plays, and now she is not really able to do that as easily as I used to in the original version of the game, and I'm still trying to learn how to do those challenges. So I would like that to get patched in. I don't think that's a difficult thing for them to unlock. That, to me, seems like something that's an incredibly easy thing to just forget about. Because, let's be honest, out of all the DLC in this game, Challenge Demonstration is probably the most forgettable for most people. And we're including a game that has Glasses DLC. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the actual DLC because, for the most part, it is absolutely fantastic having all of it included. The DLC includes Episode Adachi's story mode, Adachi as a character, Marie as a character, Margaret as a character, multiple palette changes for all of the character colors as well as the persona colors. Every character has their glasses packs, which basically means you can wear your glasses from the Persona TV world, or if you're a Persona 3 character or a new character, you have special design shades, goggles, bandanas, and so on. They're really awesome. It's a really tiny little touch that, for paid DLC, kind of seems yucky, but for something to be included, it honestly is a really nice touch. Other DLC included is boss characters. These are basically just super broken, powerful characters. They're not really something you're going to do for competitive play, but it is nice that they are available if you want to play them in versus mode or online. I never really messed around with them very much outside of just goofing around. It's hilarious they're so overpowered, but it's also kind of sad that this was something that was charged originally. But again, a more fun, different way to play the game that's just included for free. Can't go wrong there. There are additional navigation announcer packs, so basically you can have someone who's not just Rise talking to you throughout the match. You can have characters like Nanako, Fuka, the cast of Persona 3, the cast of Persona 4. It's really fun just having different voices chat with you, but the navigation DLC I never really worried about too much or used that much at all. Now, the Persona 3 and Persona 4 soundtracks are one of the most favorite features, and including as many of those songs into Arena and Ultimax's soundtrack was such a great thing, and having them as DLC was such a welcome sight to see. I am sad we are missing the songs from the Persona 3 movie as well as the Persona 4 Golden anime, because I, for one, was a huge fan of the Golden anime opening as well as the ending, and again, I just want to have this be the most definitive version of the game possible. I understand rights are tied up with Aniplex, it's a pain in the butt. I would have at least liked to try and see it, if not maybe as an option. It just kind of, it's also a weird look because most people don't know really how rights and everything are tied up with what, so it's kind of confusing. Most people probably won't remember those songs are missing to begin with. At least we have songs from Persona 3, Persona 3 Portable, we have songs from Persona 3 Fez, there are songs from Persona Q even. It's really, really great. Also, if you were going to take some songs out, you might as well just try and add some songs in as well. There were tracks from Persona 4 Dancing, it would have been really nice to see there, but again, I know this is just a port, this is not really them trying to do anything crazy, they're not adding new stages, even though it would have been cool if they added in like something crazy like the stage from BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, because they made a new Persona 4 stage in Cross Tag Battle that would have worked perfectly in that engine. But that's besides the point. The final DLC does have a giant asterisk, and I have already made a video talking about this. That is the Lobby Mode Character DLC. So all of the lobby avatars, which can be experienced on the PlayStation 4 version, you can play as basically anybody from Persona 3, Persona 4, Portable, as well as Persona Q. And what's really nice about this is that all those lobby characters are unlocked for free. What's kind of a bummer is if you don't have a PlayStation 4 and are playing this on Switch or PC, you will not get any of that DLC. You will not get to experience lobby mode at all. I know some people are either extremely disappointed by this, some people don't care, or some people are happy. I personally lined on the side of I think lobby mode should have been on all modes. I think if it was exclusive to PlayStation, you should have explained why. Back on the 360 version, the 360 version not having lobbies was kind of already a problem, but I know a lot of people were like, okay, this game didn't even release on 360 in Japan, so it coming out at all on 360 was just kind of a nice thing to do. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm like, if you're charging the same amount on all platforms for this game, all platforms should have all the same amount of content unlocked unless there's some exclusivity deal. And that's not the case for this. There's no PlayStation paid Atlus X amount of dollars for a lobby mode that was part of a game from 8 years ago. So I think them talking about it would have been nice. I think they should have mentioned it a lot sooner, but again, I made a whole other video about that. People can check it out. You're either going to care about that or not. But if you do have it, lobby mode is a really, really fun way of basically jumping into multiple different rooms. Rooms can be tied to regions, like if you're in the West or if you're in the East, if you're a casual player, if you're an advanced player, if you want to do boss character matches, if you're just trying to chat or want to hang out with people. You're in these little arcade rooms that can hold up to 32 avatars, and it's really fun just to walk around, hang out with people. And for me, I've always really enjoyed lobby mode because it's really easy of, let's say, for our fight clubs, it's always been the same thing. Where do you want to meet us? We're going to meet up at Saturday at the Junes Lovers Lobby Room, and you can hang out with us there, talk. If we get a full room, we'll tell other people they can go to the next lobby over like that and keep the party going like that. It's really fun. You don't have to worry about finding someone with room codes or looking at like matchups and stuff like that. So if you enjoy talking with someone, whether it be on the keyboard in-game chat or if you're just talking with PSN voice chat, it's a really good feature, and I can't recommend it enough, at least just to check it out for a fun casual time. Now, while that mode is not available on Switch or PC, Switch and PC do have online modes. You have Player Match, which lets you fight in player rooms from 2 to 8 players. Now, these are just like lobbies, but you're just in a text-based menu. No frills, nothing crazy. It's just you fighting people, spectating, watch, repeat, chatting, stuff like that. No big deal, but it is locked to 8 players or less. And then there is Ranked Match. Ranked Match is pretty self-explanatory. If you would like to play and be on the ranked leaderboards or upgrade your class, you can go and enlist in rank play, and you can search for people. You can put a enlist thing on you, which basically means, alright, I'm looking for an online match. Let's say it's dead of the night, you're trying to play the game, but not a lot of people are online. And if someone drops in and wants to see if there's a ranked match, if you're enlisted, you will get a notification or will be pulled in, whatever your setting is, and then you can start playing that ranked match right away. So I really like the enlist feature. It's a nice thing just to kind of have passive in the background of like, alright, well, nobody's playing right now. I'll just leave it on while I'm in training mode and then see if someone wants to play like that. I really, really like that feature. I don't personally play too much ranked, even though I do play a lot of this game online, but I do want to give a shout out to this because I know the online has been very, very contentious because there is no rollback netcode. This is delay-based netcode. I have tested this in various different circumstances. I have, at this point of recording, tried it with people locally in terms of very close Wi-Fi. On top of playing with Wi-Fi, I've played hard locked in with a LAN cable attached to my system. I've played with people who are in opposite coast, different countries, South America, Central America, Europe, and even Japan. The netcode, for the most part, has been surprisingly fine. It is actively better than the base code in Ultimax. So I don't know what improvements they've made from it. I feel like they probably should have like advertised it as, hey, this is better netcode than PS3, which I know doesn't really sound like that big of a thing to say, but hey, Arc System Work games are not normally known for being pretty good, but I'm at least here, and I want to say, at time of release, on launch day, this had really good netcode for me. I played with multiple people online from ranked, casual, lobby mode, and player mode, and had no issues outside of 2 instances where a game froze for another player, or there was a little bit of stuttering loading into the match, but the actual gameplay itself, I had no major issues with. The matches were fine, I had fun. The game's performance as a whole, whether it be single player, multiplayer, or online, was very, very good. It is a no-frills port, I will mind you. While the game is a beauty to look at in terms of its sprite work, this, at the end of the day, is still a game that was initially developed for a 720p monitor. Nothing has been upscaled, nothing looks up-resed or anything else. This is all assets being stretched from 720p up to whatever your native resolution is. None of the animated cutscenes have been redone, nothing has been reworked, there's nothing that's changed with the audio, nothing's changed with how the sprites work, the menus have moved around a little. Even the menu assets aren't improved, things will still look blurry, things will still look pixelated. But it's a pixel-based fight game. There's nothing really to be that picky with. There are just little things that would have been nice. It would have been nice if the cutscenes could have been 1080p or 4K. It would have been nice if the menu assets could have also been in a higher resolution. But you're here for the fighting game. You're here for the fun. The art when you're in the story mode looks fine. The only time where the game really doesn't shine graphically is when the pre-rendered animated cutscenes are playing, and that's just because they're all being stretched to a resolution they're not meant to be played at. They look like you're streaming them on a okay quality YouTube video from 10 years ago. It's doable, but these are absolutely gorgeous, and I would have just loved to have seen them look as beautiful as I remember them looking back on my PlayStation 3. Obviously, miracles can't be done for everything. Everything here is still fine, more than serviceable. Just a little bit of a heads up. This is not a remaster in the sense of it's going to make things look better. This was a remaster in the sense of let's port a PlayStation 3 game over to a PlayStation 4. They knew what they had to do. They knew what was going to this game in terms of the budget, and they at least put their money where they needed to in terms of making this game run well, implementing what they needed to, and adding in new stuff where it made sense while also keeping everything relatively the same just because, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Ultimax is definitely not broke at the end of the day. Either way, that is enough of ranting and raving from Spencer about this game. If it is not clear to you, I am a huge fan of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, and I am so so happy that this port ended up playing so well. Now, like I mentioned, all of this footage is from the PlayStation 4 version on my PS5, but I have played personally the Switch version, and I have messed around a little bit with the PC version. Both versions are totally fine. If anything, I would recommend the Switch version is probably best if you want to just have the story on in the background with portable mode, but the Steam port seems totally fine. There's nothing inherently wrong or right with either version. I'm going to give the leg up to the PlayStation version, A, because I like trophies, and B, because I enjoy lobby mode and playing online with my friends and stuff like that. But thankfully, this is not a case where one version is extremely compromised or had to make any concessions, because, like I said, this game's not visually trying to push the bar at all. It is a game that looked good 10 years ago, and it still looks good in 2022. So that is Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. That is my review. That is me saying the word Ultimax probably 20 too many times, but I hope I covered everything that you would be interested in, whether it be the story, the online, the offline, the single player, the DLC, the training, the music, all the modes, all the options, all the stuff like that. Let me know what you thought of this review in the comments below. If you enjoyed videos like this, please, 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 please consider subscribing. It really, really helps. Sharing this video helps, spreading the word. If you want to give this to someone who might be interested or is just a huge fan of Ultimax, I would also appreciate that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you plan on playing. If you're planning on playing on PS4, hit me up as well. There'll be lots of fight clubs. You can follow updates that'll be on the community tab for this channel, the SMTN Facebook group, our Twitter, Discord. All those links will be in the description of the video below. Once again as well, thank you so much to Atlus West, not only for the review code, but also for dealing with me, begging you, and annoying you for all of my weird requests, even if it's for stuff that most people wouldn't care about, just like Challenge Mode DLC. So, great job with the game. I hope you all enjoy the game on launch day. If you're someone out there who's waiting for a sale, I'm not going to blame you. I think $30 is totally worth it for this game, but if you want to wait for rollback netcode, that's totally fine, but I just wanted to let you all know I thought the netcode was fine. I'm excited for rollback. I hope it makes the experience even better. There are improvements that could still be made. And if this game finally does get its rollback netcode, let's hope sometime this summer like they've announced, and the game goes on sale by then, it's 20 bucks or something, I would triply recommend it then. So I'm already this high-hearted in recommending it at $30 with a delay base, no rollback netcode. It will only get higher if they keep patching the game, improving it, and doing stuff like that. So, really excited about the state where this game's at. I'm glad it released in a quality form. But, like I said, I have been rambling for way too long, so I will let you all go. Thank you all again for watching this so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.